Well, thank you for making Obi-Wan a part of your weekend. It's good to see you guys. Hey, thank you. My name is Chris, and I'm one of the pastors here, and it's my privilege to share with you today. As I was preparing for the message, I was thinking through a time where I was just pretty dissatisfied where I was at with life. Have you ever been there before? Like one of you? Okay. The church for perfect people and imperfect pastors, I guess. But at a place of just being very dissatisfied. And I remember going before God, and it wasn't like angry or being disrespectful for him, but I just had a lot of venting questions for him, like, why am I at this place, but my peers are at this other place? God, I'm helping people. Why are these people that are helping other people, why are they getting all the breaks? I even remember, instead of thanking God for one of my mentors, I was like, my mentor was great and was in a great position. And if you weren't going to put me in a great position, why did you give me that great mentor? Because now I have this idea of what greatness is. I don't know if you've ever been there like I was, but I just remember, sharing some of those things and with God, and He could handle it. He was able to handle that. He knew I needed to get it out, and then right after I shared that with Him, He shared this thought to my heart and spirit. He said this very gently, very lovingly: "Whatever happened to the person who just wanted to help people?" I was like, wow, I kind of needed that. Because after God shared that, I remember thinking to myself, when I first started out, I didn't care about the things I was currently frustrated by. I didn't care to be great. I just wanted to help people. But as time went by, it got hard when I saw others succeed and I didn't. Have you ever been there? Where you're like, I'm working hard. Why are they at a better place? I'm even helping others. I'm doing what you've asked me to, God. Why are they seemingly making a bigger impact? Or just in general, why does everyone else's life seem so great, God, and mine seems so ordinary? To some degree, I think we all want to be great, and we want to do great things, and there's nothing wrong with that. We want our lives to count. That's a good thing. God wants us to and can help us do and be great and do great things. But here's the thing. Greatness is good, but hear this, but it also can be a trap. Greatness is a good thing, but it also can be a trap. A while ago, we talked about this person named Solomon, and he was a king. I want to remind you of a couple great things. These were great things that he did. He talks about in Ecclesiastes how he made all these houses, and he built all of these gardens and all of these vineyards and all of these parks and all of these reservoirs. He did all of these great projects. And then he goes on to say, I amassed silver and gold, and if that wasn't enough, I amassed the wealth of kings and provinces. I want you to think about for a moment, if you amassed such a wealth that you had all the wealth of San Diego or San Diego County. This is the type of wealth that Solomon has. Listen to what he says next. He says, I became greater by far than anyone else in Jerusalem before me. There it is. He became great. He became great. And not just by a little. It says that he was greater by far than anyone else in Jerusalem. He became the goat of Jerusalem. Woohoo! And after all he accomplishes, after becoming the goat of his city, this is what he thinks of it all. Yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done and what I had toiled to achieve, listen to this, everything was meaningless. What? Houses and parks and reservoirs. What about the silver and gold, the treasure of provinces and counties? That meant nothing, Solomon? Yeah. It was just like a chasing after the wind. Listen to this next part. Nothing was gained under the sun. Wow, Solomon, seriously, it was meaningless. You were the goat, and it was in almost every way possible. You were the goat, and it was meaningless? Yeah, nothing was gained. See, it shows us that doing great things can be good, but the chase for greatness can be a trap. Like he said, it's the chase. It's like I'm chasing after the wind. You want to know why it feels like we're chasing after the wind when we're chasing after greatness? Because there's always someone else ahead of you. There always will be. There's lots of pressure when we're constantly chasing after greatness. Sometimes it's even harder and even more pressure to maintain it. Crap. What do I do with all this wealth? What do I do with my reputation? What do I do with all of this? Whatever. It can actually be discouraging when we don't feel like we're great. Like I said, sometimes it feels like everyone's life is great, but mine's so ordinary. Even when we're not comparing, we can still be discouraged when we're not meeting our own definition of greatness. It seems like I'm going nowhere. But thankfully, we can find freedom from the trap for the chase for greatness. And to discover what that freedom is, let's look at a story that Jesus shares. Jesus is actually in the middle of talking about his return. Some people would refer to this as his second coming. And he's doing this because he wants to reveal the mindset, the freedom mindset that he wants us as Christ followers to live with until he comes back. He knows, hey, you have a big chance on getting trapped by life and having a trapped mindset. I love you. I've came to give you freedom, so let me give you a freedom mindset. And so he shares a story about a person that goes on a journey and because of that entrusts a lot of his wealth to a few people. And he gave 5 bags of gold to one, 2 bags of gold to another. And for those of you that know the story, I realize that he gave 1 bag to a third person. But for the sake of the message today, I just want to focus on the first 2, okay? So after a long time, he comes back to see what has been done with his wealth. So let's pick up the story from there in Matthew 25. It says, "Master," he said, "you've entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I have gained 5 more." This is a really cool exchange. Listen to the experience and how cool it is for both people. His master replied, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. Now I'm going to put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness." What a cool experience for both people. The owner didn't say, "Well, why didn't you get 6? Why didn't you get 9? That's it? Only 5 more bags? I was gone a long time." The owner sees the person's faithfulness and in turn gives him words of affirmation, more opportunity, and he actually says, "Hey, why don't you come now and share this with me? Share in my happiness," because the owner could have been like, "Cool, you go make 5 more, I'll share in my own happiness." This was a really cool experience for both people. Let's see how it turns out for the next person. "Master," he said, "you've entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have gained 2 more. His master replied, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness." Same thing. It went well for both people. So let's break this down to see how we can gain freedom from the chase for greatness. Now again, to be clear, please don't misunderstand. God's not mad at people who achieve great things. If you hear a message down the road about greatness, it's not necessarily a false message. If you see someone become great or for one reason or another, it doesn't mean that God disapproves. But here's the thing. Here's what God knew. He knew something. He knew that if we were not careful, wanting to do great things becomes the focus, and accidentally we start serving greatness. I'm not there yet. I guess I have to do more and more and more. Crap, now there's someone else that's ahead of me, has a better house, a better job, a better this, a better that, a better family. Do you see why the chase never stops? Chasing after the wind. There's always someone better. I have to do more. Do you notice God didn't say, well done, good and great servant. He said, well done, good and faithful servant. Being reliable, consistent, and trustworthy to God and others. These are the things that are more important to Him. We can definitely do great things, but greatness isn't the goal. The goal is being faithful to God and others. I'm going to read a couple verses, and I want you to notice which one is on the list and which one didn't make the cut. You ready for it? Here we go. It says this, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness. Say it with me. Say it again. Faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. You notice the one that didn't make the cut? Guys, as God helps us be faithful step by step, we can be free from this chase. I hope that this next statement is like a whisper freedom from God. I want you to picture like God's talking to you right now. And He says something to you like this. Take the pressure off. I'm not asking you to be great. I'm not asking you for perfection. That's why some of you need to hear that one. Like, that's why Jesus came. That's why my son came. I'm not asking you for greatness. I'm not asking you perfection. I'm encouraging you to be faithful. And you don't even have to do it on your own. I can produce it within you. I can help you win within. Do you notice that the owner didn't tell the person who brought back 2 bags, why didn't you bring back 6? The first person brought 5. Why didn't you bring 6? Do you not want to be the greatest? I guess you're not the GOAT. He didn't say any of that. Here's another whisper freedom from God. Take the pressure off. Stop comparing yourself. Focus on staying faithful to me and others. One of the traps of the chase for greatness is that it often comes with us comparing. Because how else are we going to know if we're great unless we compare ourselves to other people? The owner knew, listen in, this is so important if you struggle with comparison, which we all do at times. See, when we compare, we become unfair to ourselves. The owner knew that the first person started with 5 bags. He started from a different place. Guys, we all start from different places. I'm going to ask you something. Would you rather be unique or great? Uniqueness has us starting at different places. We have all of us, we have advantages and disadvantages. But what about them? They just seem to stop comparing. They seem to get so many more opportunities. Guys, you're unique. You may be starting at a different place. Also, you may have advantages that others don't have, but you may not be valuing them as high at the level of the advantages you see in others. See, here's a reason that faithfulness is freeing. It keeps you focused on God, not where other people are on their journey and pace in life. It's like, okay, with His help, am I staying loyal to people in my context with my talents? It's interesting. Both people gain the same appreciation. Well done, good and faithful servant. The owner didn't even focus on the results. The people did. Look, I got 5. Look, I got 2. The owner just acknowledged faithfulness. And that's another reason the chase for greatness can be a trap, is because it can become, the focus can be too much about the results. PK, isn't the result another way that I can tell if I'm doing great things? Now again, don't misunderstand, results are good, but the results aren't always up to us. What is up to us is choosing to be consistent during good times and during tough times. Another thing about results, they're good, but they take time. Do you notice in the story, the owner didn't show up the next day. What did you do? What did you do? He was gone for a long time, which shows that consistency with time can be the key. Let me give you an example that I think we'll all understand. Please know that when I talk about money, we're not talking about faithfulness in the core of money. I'm just bringing a money example because numbers can be easy to measure, okay? Faithfulness goes way beyond that. But pretend for a moment that you stayed faithful and said no to Starbucks every day. You're just going to get out your shirt, say no to Starbucks, and on the back it's going to say yes to invest, okay? If you faithfully, consistently put $9 a day into an investment and get a good return on that investment over 30 years, just $9 a day, just saying no to Better Buzz, saying no to Starbucks, saying no to whatever that $9 is, and you say yes to invest faithfully every day, in 30 years, you will have $500,000 to $600,000 on just the faithfulness of $9 a day. But some of you are like, it's not 5 or 6 million. Stop comparing. That's still a great amount of money. It reminds me of something that Steve Jobs has said before. If you really look closely, most overnight successes take a long time. If you really look closely, most overnight successes took a long time. Now, as we've shared before, outward results aren't guaranteed, but when something great happens, it's typically because of faithfulness again and again and again and again. It's faithfulness over time. And not only can the chase for greatness be a trap when it's too important, we can also miss out. What if we miss out on being faithful to what's right in front of us? It's like, oh, your kid's right in front of you, your spouse is right, your friend is right in front of you, your neighbor, your coworker. Oh, what's the next great big thing out there? What if we miss out right what's in front of us just because we're trying to chase the next great thing? Well, what about this one? We all love experiences, and Pastor Julian did a great job of talking about that last week. Pleasures is awesome, experience is awesome, but it can become too important. So what if, because of wanting the experience of greatness, we miss out on the opportunity of faithful just because it doesn't seem or feel great to us? Let me give you an example of what I mean by that. My mom and dad were really brave. Do you want to know why? Because after they had me, they still had 3 more. If I'm not enough on my own, right? They had 3 more. They had 4 kids. I remember that when I really started thinking about and having a deeper appreciation for my parents, and I thought to myself, wow, they've just always been there for me. Then I started thinking about that in the context of 4 kids. The next basketball practice, the next music recital, the next ballet, the next this, the next that. There was times where all of us were in those things. The next sports event, the next practice, the next music this, the next skateboard that, whatever it was. Let me ask you a question. Do you think they felt great in that moment? $5 left in the gas tank because I took our son to basketball. Woo! Probably not. But it meant a lot to me over the course of my life. It's what mattered to me. That's why I look at my parents as they're not perfect. In many people's eyes, they would say they're not even great. But they're great to me because they were faithful to me. They were there for me. I think if you ask most people, would you rather have parents who only buy you the greatest toys or ones who are consistently present? Maybe not as a 13-year-old. Yeah, the toy, the greatest toy. Maybe then. But I think as most people age, like, I don't even remember most of the toys my parents got me. Probably because they sucked. But no, I'm just teasing. Sorry, Mom and Dad, if you're watching, you gave great presents. Sometimes. But what do I remember? I think if you ask most people, would you rather have a friend who only shows up to show you the best time, or the ones that are there for you at 3 a.m.? I think if you ask most coworkers, do you want to be with coworkers that only shows up big, or only shows up at all during the great big project? Or do you want to work with coworkers that are reliable through the big times and the small times? I want you to start thinking about some of the people in your life. Think about that for a moment. Whoever is significant in your life, it may not seem great to you to be faithful, but it might matter to them quite a bit. What if the point is, faithfulness is what's important to God? It may be even important to others too, like my parents, like I said. Reliability may have not felt great to them, but it mattered to me, and it still matters to me. You know, Jesus shares this story of an owner leaving and then entrusting his treasure to his people. This story was just a parable. It didn't really happen. He used this parable to give us a deep truth, to encourage Christ followers to be faithful to God and to others. But as I was preparing for this message, it dawned on me, this parable eventually becomes a real-life story for Jesus and for us. You want to find out how? How does this become a real-life story for Jesus? How does this become a real-life story for me? Before he leaves earth, he gives us an assignment and trusts us with his treasure. Listen in to what it says. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And listen to this very cool promise from Jesus. It's like, hey, I'm not going to be here, but I will always be with you in spirit. You will never be alone. And he says, and surely I'm with you always to the very end of the age. And what's cool is, the last time I noticed, we're not at the very end of the age yet. So Jesus is still here, and he's still present, and he's still with us. And even at the very end of the age, the promise for Christ followers is, I get to be with him forever. In the parable, the treasure was gold. But what's God's real life treasure? People. As my followers, I'm entrusting you with people. I'm with you and I'll help you. You have the most important treasures. It's me and it's my gift of hope and grace. Please be faithful and share it with others, whether in deed or word. That's Jesus' treasure. With this in mind, who's someone you care about? So I want you to turn inward for a moment. Who's someone that you care about who needs Jesus and is far from God? Think about that for a moment. We all know people who need Jesus and that are far from God. And maybe, just maybe, they're coming to your mind because God wants you to pray for them this summer. God, my aunt, my uncle, my brother, my sister, my friend, my coworker, I don't know who's coming to your mind, but Lord, I know that you want them to be reached with your hope and grace. I don't know if you've noticed, but we've turned from spring into summer, right? Yes, it's here. And the Summer of Someone is back at OB1 as well. We're asking you to take the summer to pray for someone in your life who is far from God, someone that you care about who needs Jesus, and their life changed by an encounter with the Holy Spirit. And in case you're wondering, it can be more than one someone too. It could be several someones. Who's someone that you care about, that you know they need Jesus? They are far from God. They need an impersonal encounter with Him. You know, OB1 also cares about your someone who's far from God. We're asking you to pray over someone this summer, but your pastors want to pray for your someone as well this summer. And so you see back here on the right-hand side, at least my way, left-hand side for you guys, there is a prayer wall called Summer of Someone, Help People Know God. If you have someone, a name that's coming to your mind, we're going to ask you, we're going to play a song in a moment, we're going to ask you to go over that wall and write someone's name on it. You don't have to put their full name if you think that somehow they'd find out. You can put their first name, you can put their nickname, you can put their initials. But we want to partner with you. We care as well about your someone. If you put their name on the wall, we will pray. As your pastors, we will pray for your someone. And we can even go farther. This happened during first service. If you'd like us to personally pray with you, you can rest assured we're going to pray if you put it on that wall. But if you want personal prayer, someone in your life that needs Jesus, please don't hesitate to come to us. Remember, you're not bothering us. We'd love to pray with you about someone in your life that needs Jesus. Before we play the song, I just want to encourage you that God hears our prayers, and I'm going to give an example from my life. A few weeks ago, I had a family member call me up, and they were so excited to let me know, guess what? I started going to church. I started reading my Bible. This Jesus thing is starting to make sense to me. And I was just thrilled and so happy for this person because we've wanted this person for a while to come to Christ. And I remember a few days later, I was on a prayer walk praying over Summer of Someone because I knew that we'd be introducing this, thanking God for that experience. And then it dawned on me, I'm like, oh, that person's name was on the prayer wall last year. Guys, I can't pretend that every story ends that way. But I can tell you that God hears your prayers. And I can tell you that He cares deeply about the person that doesn't have Christ yet. That's why Jesus came. Jesus didn't necessarily die to make us great. If greatness comes because we're faithful, awesome. Jesus died so that we could see that He was faithful, which made Him great in our eyes. And then we come to Him. And then because we have Him, we will now share Him with others so others experience the same. That's why Jesus died. Because I don't think we're going to get to heaven someday. We're not going to even care about being great because we're going to be in front of greatness. I think we might be wondering, thank God I was faithful. Thank God I was faithful because it doesn't matter anymore. I'm in greatness for eternity. I'll be staring at Him for eternity. I'll be around Him for eternity. I don't think that will matter to us in that moment because there will be nothing greater than Jesus. We're going to play a song. It's called "The World Needs Jesus." And for some of you, when I asked, hey, who's someone in your life that you care about that needs Jesus, you knew right away. And so we're going to play this song, and as you hear that song, go to that wall and write down a name. Heck, make it hard on your pastors. Write 20 down. Like, oh my gosh, all we're doing all week is praying for people. Make it hard on us. But go to that wall if you already know. For some of you, you may not know yet, and that's okay. Take this song to pray about it, and then mid-song, if someone comes to your mind, go to the wall. For some of you, you might not know yet. That's okay. Pray this week and bring it next week, because this is not the summer of 1 week. This is the summer of someone. We're doing this every week, okay? And so why don't we take a moment, bow our heads and close our eyes, and as this song is starting, and then if you go to the wall, come back to your seat, pray over that person. We're going to pray at the end of the song, but maybe even listen to the words of the song and let God put something within you that speaks faithfulness to you. So Adam, why don't you play the song? If you know your name, you can go to the wall. If you need a little time, that's okay too.